Oh yeah, I haven't said anything yet. Hey Nicole, I just haven't been talking. All right. Call when you're ready. Call when ready. All right. Cool. Yeah, you can hear me typing. I wasn't talking. Hey. All right.
Master plan. This ain't nothing but sweat inside my hand.
All right, that's my ringtone, paid in full. All right, let's make sure we got Fernando on Bluetooth. We got him back. Okay, Nicole is back, and we're definitely, yeah. Okay, got us back. I had to hop off and take off that Facebook shit. No more Facebook. I'm done. I learned my lesson. It's not usually, that's just a thing. Anyway, Fernando, let's pick up, because this is an important conversation, regardless if we lose a couple folks. One thing I want to do is continue to have this conversation and post this on YouTube. But could you start from the beginning? You were at the press conference. Tell people I'm gonna say R because I want to feel like I'm extended family. Tell the people what your news outlet is and what you were doing, what you were observing.
Yeah, so I represent Nuestro Estado. I'm the publisher of Nuestro Estado, but later on in this Twitch, maybe we'll make that announcement of the project that we've got coming up in a couple of weeks.
Definitely.
But yes, we kind of did a team coverage yesterday of what was going on, because it's so important for us to be able to tell our own stories, right? Because it hits different. We are able to pick up on different things that are happening in our surroundings, and that is what we saw yesterday. We saw a Sutherland family that was very empowered. Miss Amy Sutherland specifically was incredibly empowered. One of the things that I thought was touching is in this image that you're playing right now, you see a hand on her shoulder.
Yes,
that is George Floyd's brother. Holding her. And just that small gesture of her coming up to the podium is something that we hadn't seen before. The reason why I asked that question about previous legal counsel is because I think it's crucial to understand the power dynamics that are at play here, right? Why do we have new legal representation? Why didn't we hear about a transition of legal representation when, last summer we were hearing from Mark Pepper often referencing Wilson's willingness to help the family, right? He was constantly saying she's being very cooperative. She doesn't have to do this, but she's doing it basically out of a favor to the family, right? And it's like, no, she's funded by taxpayer dollars. This is her job. They have a right to have access to the video, have access to her. And so he was like, we have that open line of communication. What we heard from yesterday from Miss Amy Sutherland was, that was not her sentiment. And I think we felt that, anybody with any common sense who saw any previous press conferences since the very beginning this case went public would have seen the emotion and the passion that Miss Amy Sutherland had to seek justice for her son. And oftentimes people around her kind of tamed it down, right? They kind of shut it down, and she was the only one that felt that empowerment. It's important to note also that I found an article in the Post and Courier where Scarlett Wilson had previously referred a case involving Mark Pepper to the 15th Judicial Circuit because she cited a conflict of interest. And, that was during his whole mess, involving drugs.
Oh, wait. I got to play Jamaican air horns real quick. Rewind. Say that one more time for people who might not have been paying attention. Go say that again.
Yeah, back in 2017, Mark Pepper got into some legal trouble and was facing some DUI charges. He's a Charleston lawyer. I think he's Charleston native, and obviously that case would have gone to Scarlett Wilson, but she sent it to the Georgetown County office, the 15th Judicial Circuit, because she cited a conflict of interest in referring elsewhere. And that's something that you and I pointed out from the very beginning, was the close proximity that Pepper and Wilson had. And not to say that they, can't be friends or they can't have that proximity, but when you are trying to press someone, when you're trying to hold someone accountable, when you're trying to seek justice, how does it appear when the people that you're trying to hold accountable are your buddies, And so I think it was important to make that connection there. Ms. Sutherland stated, Scarlett has lied to my family over and over again. Get to know her. She's a liar. I'm going to call it like I see it. And we saw that often in previous press conferences from Ms. Sutherland, expressing that frustration, not only with Scarlett Wilson, but also with Sheriff Graziano. From my understanding, Sheriff Graziano and Scarlett Wilson have since released statements last night. I read Scarlett Wilson's statement, and it was condescending because it kind of played into this narrative of she's just an angry Black woman that is not able to have a conversation. This is a mother that lost her child.
So let me stop you right there, because I picked up on that too. So basically, and we're going to get to the statement from Solicitor Wilson, but that statement, she says something to the effect of when she met with Mother Amy Sutherland and the family, she knew that she couldn't have a rational, or she intimated that Amy Sutherland was irrational, too emotional, to right. And so like that to me really hurt my feelings, as I say hurt my feelings a lot like a little kid, but it literally punched me in the gut, because while I've lost 2 siblings, not to any type of police violence, but I lost 2 siblings. I had to watch my mother grieve the loss of her first 2 born children, and I know how my mother, who is stoic, who is very, very unemotional, I have never seen her cry until I saw till my older brother passed away. And so I'm saying that because I know how a mother can be brought to her knees literally after their child, after having to bury their own child. You feel me? And like that response from Solicitor Wilson was so, we're going to get to, I'm going to show people what the response was, but it really hurt me as a Black woman to read that from a solicitor. Yeah, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you with that, but yeah.
No, that's good. Yeah, that article that you got pulled up there, if you go scroll to the bottom, you'll see where it talks about Charlotte deferring the case to the other district. But yeah, no, I think that was really important. I also think it was really important for people to understand, I believe it was Caitlin Bird from the state that asked the question about, what similarities or the comparison of 2 cases. There's often not enough journalists of color at these press conferences.
Yes.
So, you try to be careful on not to focus too much on the trauma of any of these cases. But, having the George Floyd family there and having George Floyd's brother speak to, the brutalness, the violence that Jamal experienced was really, really powerful. I think that the call to action here, was clear. I think they alluded to it several times that they want people watching, people hearing, to take action, to put pressure, to take the streets. We saw that in other cases around the country, and that hasn't happened in Charleston, right? And I think that plays into the power dynamics that we were just talking about. I think oftentimes people want to do this whole, behind closed doors chat, and then just come out and tell you, we've worked everything out, when in reality, like, that hasn't happened. And I think that's what, the county expected. Whoever was involved in this $10 million settlement, I think that they were hoping that we've worked this out. Here's $10 million. We're going to call it a day. But no, it's not about the money, right? It's not. It's about justice. These officers have not been charged with anything.
Right. No, I was very grateful that was actually said explicitly. I believe Crump said that it's not about the money, or it might have been Mr. Sutherland. But the mere fact that they're organizing behind or organizing with, have retained civil rights lawyers to lead this effort, that to me demonstrates a willingness to want the other outcome, which is you want the deputies charged for any one of those charges that were lifted up by Susanna or Stephen Bowden with the call-in earlier. You want them charged with something, the bare minimum, right? And it's not to me, it's not about money. It's also about that legislation that they're trying to advance with a mental health aspect to it. Can you share your thoughts on that part? I guess just really general, like, do you feel like the coverage about that, or their movement behind trying to advance legislation that would have broad sweeping like ramifications, right? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that specifically.
Maybe not specifically, but just to kind of point out that I think, for me, yesterday was really important about trying to hold someone who is in elected office in power accountable, right? And trying to honor the demands of Amy Sutherland and Mr. Sutherland, because I think that often is getting lost in our local traditional media and our regional media, and they are focusing on these bills, right? And when we have something like this, we have the George Floyd Act that has been presented here in South Carolina. The Jamal Sutherland Act is being presented, and those are important aspects of this. But people that are organizing on the ground are the ones that are really mobilizing to make sure that elected officials are passing these things, or that people are being elected to pass these things. So there's multiple components to it. I think there's some diplomacy, right, from any type of attorney that needs to play out, and civil rights leader, in terms of how do you politicize something to gain something out of it that will be for positive good in the community. Yeah. But I think we really haven't touched on the Sutherlands family loss and their pain and their suffering of like trying to seek justice. And every time we cover this, regardless if it's about a bill or if it's Scarlett Wilson or Kristen Graziano, like this is causing a lot of emotional suffering and toll on them. Mm-hmm. But I think what the family really wanted yesterday was for people to mobilize and do things. Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of bring the conversation back because people are really responding favorably, of course, in the chat to what you add to the coverage. I want to kind of take it back to something you said earlier on. I don't know if it was prior to the hiccup or not, but you said it just a moment ago. There's not that much diversity in our mainstream media, local media corps, press corps that comes out. Let me ask you this: why did you prioritize being at this press conference, or did you get an advisory, or like what is your thought process when you go to cover an event that is so politicized and so such a big event? What is your thought process?
Yeah, well, so this week I actually have been on going to a coaching academy for the American Press Institute, and I canceled my session yesterday afternoon to attend this press conference because the importance that I find in it is being a person of color on the other side to be able to ask some of the questions that maybe some of my colleagues won't. There's a lot of great reporters, well-intentioned, but just based on lived experience, based on the environment that they grew up in, like they're not going to be able to ask some of those questions or be able to analyze, what is happening. Mm-hmm. So that's why it was important there. And also shout out to Raphael James from Live 5 News. Yes. I don't know if he gets paid overtime extra for being at things, but I have seen that he, as a Black journalist, prominent Black journalist, he is present in a lot of these things, even if there are other Live 5 News crews there. I think he understands that same responsibility. Yeah, I noticed that with the Graziano thing, and I started paying attention. Not even that. Back to Mother Emanuel. Back when I first got down here, I saw how Live 5 either used him or rather, I don't want to say like, I don't want to remove his agency, but I saw his presence and like he understands his role in the community. And shout out, I want to just say it again. I'm going to give him air horns. Shout out. Shout out Raphael James. Yeah, because it's important as a Black man, as an unambiguous Black man in Charleston, a news leader, a trustworthy voice. It's important to know like how he's out here moving. Yeah, I hear you saying that you canceled one commitment to make sure that you were there to make sure to ask some of these questions. It made me want to ask another question about like, and this is not for I don't want you to indict any of your peers that were there, because I do think that the questions were sound. I wanted to hear more. What do you think are some questions that weren't asked, or maybe you didn't even get to ask? And then I'm going to ask you about, your one-to-one with Crump in a second. But what were some questions that you felt or that could have been asked by some of these other news outlets? What typically gets missed? I think the locality, and it's something interesting because, you get trained about it, taking a national story oftentimes and trying to localize it and trying to find a local angle. I think what was asked was mostly about legislature. But, when we go look back at this video and see who are the people that spoke at the podium, obviously Reverend Rivers is a leader here in the area, but there wasn't a whole lot of other local leadership, a lot of local figures. Yeah, big time. Afterward, I also spoke with Miss Amy Sutherland, and I was like, what do you say to people that want to help? And my intent there was, there's a lot of people that are looking for who do we go to support, right? There's a lot of allyship. There's a lot of people that are infuriated by this, that feel the passion, that want to make change. But there isn't really a distinct leadership of who do people go to as an organizer to mobilize and do things. And I think that was a lot of the questions that were missed at yesterday's press conference. Yeah, no, I had that question myself. I was scratching my head. I was like, and look, I don't want to infer. I don't want to speculate too recklessly. But I really would love to see. Like I learned about this through Caitlin Bird. I learned about this through Caitlin Bird, and then you retweeted Caitlin Bird, I think. You retweeted the image
the flyer for the event. I know,
Ben Crump.
Right, from Ben Crump. Okay, that's where you got right. And then I saw Caitlin Bird, who's been writing about this story for a minute. I saw her. She's my go-to for like Jamal Sutherland, who's, to be honest, just like beyond you. She's my go-to. But to me, and this is where this is a little bit of inside business and whatnot. Little house, not house. What is this? A little family business on my end. I really would have loved to see. I know Tiffany James personally. I know Nashonda Hunter personally. I know Reverend Rivers personally. I know Trudy Lucas personally. I would have really loved to get an email. I would have really loved to get like a heads up. And this is what I hope doesn't happen. I hope the politics of misogyny don't factor into, or any other politics don't factor into, because I think that we could have had a really terrific, maybe seen some of those leaders show up, and maybe somebody would have asked, like, hey, where's the Democratic leadership? Where are local representatives? Like, there was no Democratic leadership there. And I don't know if those attempts were made, but it would have been great to leverage, and shout out to Marcus. I'm glad that Marcus was included. I'm glad that Marcus was featured prominently at some level, but there are seasoned organizers and thought leaders who were not engaged. And I think that was a missed opportunity by the event organizers, and that's not shade. That's just a fact. And
Marcus has been there at a lot of these press conferences, even though he hasn't always been in front of the cameras. I do always see Marcus present there, and I think that he's grown a lot over the last couple of years in terms of being an organizer, and a lot of it is trial and error and getting patient and maturity. But one of the things that you just also talked about with Democratic leadership, when we go back to that first press conference outside at the Alcana Detention Center and we see who's in the background, that was something I asked Ben Crump afterwards yesterday. I was like, I didn't see any Democratic senators, even state legislatures at this press conference until the very end when I was interviewing Ms. Sutherland. Gosh, I'm blanking out on his name right now. But he works at the Pepper Law Firm. He came in and gave her a hug.
Marvin Pendarvis.
Marvin Pendarvis came up and gave her a hug. But I was like, have y'all been in communication? Have they been in communication with y'all? Are they expressing their support? And he said that I think he couldn't remember the name of the group, but I'm assuming it was the South Carolina Black Caucus, Democratic Black Caucus, who is co-sponsoring the Jamal Sutherland Act bill. But he didn't really give a whole lot of details as to what other support they're receiving from Democratic leadership. Right. One of the things that I will say, the local Democratic leadership here in Charleston County has been absent. With the exception of they stood behind Sheriff Graziano during her press conference. Which I think, we ought to remember that when they're looking for organizers on the ground, to come out and elect and vote, where they stood, which side they were on, during this entire case. I have not seen them stand behind the Sutherland family, but they did behind the elected official. Right.
And I don't want to read too much into, I think y'all, I trust my followers or rather the viewers and the Twitch fam, the community. I don't like to call them followers. I'm sure they were able to put two and two together. You didn't see any Democratic leadership there, even though the Crump and the National Action Network were talking about legislation that they want to see advance through the State House. You didn't see any effort from our local Democratic Party to stand in solidarity, and not even if it was just one person, just like standing on the wings. And maybe they were outside of Marvin Pendarvis. Maybe they were there, and maybe a mask got me not seeing them, but I didn't see them. And perhaps. But more importantly, they were not a part of this event, and that's something I would love to ask Reverend Rivers about too, like his attempts to reach out to other people and not just reach out to other local coalitions. Let me ask you this. I want to pivot. You just mentioned your one-to-one with Crump. Was there anything else you learned when speaking to him directly? He made himself available, which is super dope. He made himself available to you and to other members of the media. But what were some big takeaways from your one-to-one with Crump?
I didn't have a whole lot of time to talk to him or Ms. Sutherland. I was only able to ask just, a couple of those questions that I've shared. But one of the things that I gathered is, Ben Crump has risen over the last year because he's the civil rights attorney representing so many families whose stories have been, impacted nationwide. And so he's got a lot of going on. He has a colleague here in Columbia, a Columbia attorney who's kind of handling the case. I didn't get a chance to follow up with him afterwards.
Solomon Hill. I think that was, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I believe that's his name. But yeah, that was pretty much the gist of it. I think that what Ben Crump is bringing is that experience, that tone to this press conferences. To try to mobilize and, hit a chord with people watching so that there's some action taken. I think in terms of the legislative and the nuances that happen in the background, I have a feeling that his colleague is taking charge of that. And then also, he was a little bit more diplomatic, and lawyers can be more diplomatic into, there's a lot of legal jargon that happens in the background that I don't think they want to, stick their foot in their mouth.
Right. Even with regard to the previous legal team, there was a little polite smirk from Crump before the event officially concluded. You saw, and I'm not, you saw him trying to employ a level of diplomacy.
Ms. Amy was ready for it. She was like, I'm doing this, so I'm speaking on it,
You could tell. I'm just saying it had, and I'm sure it was probably a little bit awkward to have Marvin. Marvin is works with the Pepper Law Firm. Marvin has one foot in the Black community and one foot with this law firm, and we respect Marvin for how he's shown up, but I'm sure it was really awkward at some moments, but there was a level of professionalism and a diplomacy that was evident. So that was helpful to see. Anything else before I hang up and kind of conclude the live stream for today? Anything else you want people to know or to hear?
We are going to be having more of these collaborations more often. Mika and I, along with Brandon Silvers, are working on launching a new service, telling stories of us. It's going to be called The People's Beat. Right now, we are in the semi-early stages of thepeoplesbeat.com because we want to uplift more voices from our community and tell stories in a way that aren't being told, on traditional media. Like I said, we have a lot of great colleagues in journalism here locally, but we do want to emphasize and center the experiences of BIPOC communities in the Low Country. So that is going to be coming in February. We're going to have more content from Mika, from Brandon Silvers, and also trying to empower our community by uplifting the good that is happening here, because we're not just, communities of crime and poverty. We are largely contributing to the state.
Absolutely. We're not just our pain. We're so many different stories to be told. And I'm going to say this. Yesterday was the prime example of why we need your voice. We need Brandon's voice. We need more Mika's. We need a press corps that's going to ask questions and not just ask, yes or no questions and get response. Like, we really do need more follow through, but more importantly, we need more representation, and that meaningful representation, not that cosmetic representation. So I look forward to it. And Brandon, I know you, Brandon, I will open your text message. I swear to God, I will, and respond to you. And to you and Brandon, Fernando, I will open up the Slack today as well. So I'll look out for that. But thank you so much for the call, and I'll talk to you a little bit later.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, y'all. Thanks to your followers.
Thank you. Bye. Give it up. Give it up. Thank y'all for coming back. No more Facebook. I'm taking that feature off. Jared and I are going to be meeting up soon to change some things. He wants me to get all Streamlabs. I think he wants me to just kind of be a little bit more self-sufficient. But we'll figure it out. But thank you for rocking with me, coming back after the whole Facebook brouhaha. Thank you, Fernando, for I'm known for my last minute early morning. Hey, can you talk? But I'm my own producer right now. If I had more energy after 6 p.m., I could. I'm not more energy. If I had more help, I would be able to really book these shows out in advance outside of like, April and like the easier ones. But when news breaks, this is the hardest part of doing a live stream. When news breaks, it's really difficult to build out the show. Like sometimes I have something else planned and I have to I have to speak to some other things that are going on in the area. Anyway, I wanted to get to what Fernando talked about in terms of the responses from Christian Graziano, the Sheriff Graziano, very, very empty, very kind of like hollow. And then also Scarlett Wilson's condescending remarks. I want to say Steve Garrison got that. I want to say he got that one. Let me see. Solicitor. No, let me see. Productive. Was that the word? Yeah. So this was in Steve Garrison from the Post and Courier. I'm not mad at Steve. Just don't know. Sometimes I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's swamped. Maybe editorial decisions were made. All right. So this is part of a statement that Scarlett Wilson says. Wilson said in a statement that she was contacted in early December by a Sutherland family representative about a meeting. She told them that it would not be productive and would likely lead to the family's false hopes as I stand firm in my decision. Right? So that's part of it. But let's get back up to some of the more condescending comments that she made. Live 5 News, I think, had it. Let me go back. Yeah, right here. Let me mute this real quick. The ad's going to play. So this is response from both Solicitor Wilson and Sheriff Graziano. So the headline is Solicitor Scarlett Wilson and Sheriff Graziano released statements on Jamal Sutherland. Okay. Let's see. We're going to enlarge the story as soon as it stops playing. Here you go. Boom. And here we go.
Is responding to criticism for her decision not to file charges in connection to the death of Jamal Sutherland. Sutherland died at the Charleston County Jail last year after he was repeatedly tased by 2 deputies who were trying to get him out of his cell. In a statement released just in the past hour, she says she continually met with Sutherland's family throughout the investigation up until the point when she said she couldn't file charges because she couldn't find criminal.
She said she couldn't because she couldn't find, the whole homicide thing, even though there are other charges she could bring. And no one in the media is asking her directly, asking her specifically, what about assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature? What about reckless homicide? No one's asking her about the other outcomes or any other way to try these deputies. And to me, it's just a clear statement to the blue wall here throughout the state, the blue wall that exists within SLED, the blue wall that exists within local police departments like Charleston PD. This is just like with her opening, in my observations, her opening statements, her opening remarks in the Walter Scott trial, to me demonstrates that she does not and could not and would not ever hold law enforcement accountable in the way that she would hold Black and brown bodies accountable for far lesser crimes, right? So we've seen that. She literally in her opening statements took her time, poured her some water, talked about her appearance, made some kind of self-deprecating remark to kind of try to like gin up some warm feelings, like, hey, I'm not the enemy here. And then she goes on to blame Walter Scott for his own murder. And then the Post and Courier comes and follows up and is like, yeah, she was right. He shouldn't have ran. Right? You get some of that from this response from Scarlett Wilson, unfortunately. And it's very condescending. But I'm gonna let this piece play. I'm gonna let it play.
Intent. She writes in part, quote, when a family representative contacted me in early December 2021 to request a meeting, I let them know that I believe a meeting would not be productive and would likely lead to the family's false hope as I stand firm in my decision. I encourage them to seek a review. She went on to write, I appreciate the Sutherlands' perseverance and respect their resolve. After today's event, I am more convinced that a meeting would not be in anyone's best interest.
So yeah, so this is really it's not disappointing. It's on par, right? It follows a pattern of dismissal, and this type of digging in. This is what they paid for from Scarlett. This is what the establishment, like seriously, please join the book club. Even if you didn't finish the book, even if you didn't buy the book, come on. I'm making it very casual. So as you can see, I'm with the book club because I haven't even done all the advertising of it. I just want y'all to come and talk about this book on January 27th with me. But look at the parallels between, this ain't wild either to say this, the parallels between a Kirsten, whatever her name is, Kirsten Sinema and Scarlett Wilson. This is how white women who are in positions of power, who could actually affect change, who could actually bring about transformational change, right? Scarlett has been reimagining who she is to the public and coming off as a progressive prosecutor, and she's doing that with the help of Black MAGA, Shakim Arquette. She's doing that with the help of Black bagmen like Tory Fields. She's doing this with the help of like the Charleston Forum, which was originally created to talk about race issues here in Charleston. For some reason, it turned into criminal justice and centering the cops. She's using those platforms and those people, right, to project an image that's not in line with how she rules, how she moves, right? So when Mark Pepper gets knocked for coke, shout out Brandon for dropping the link, my favorite mugshot. When Mark Pepper gets knocked for coke, she said, conflict of interest. I've got to transfer this to another jurisdiction. And I'm sure it came with some other helpful nuggets there too for Mr. Pepper, because one hand washes the other, right? Right. So we've seen her defer to another jurisdiction with that, when her friends get jammed up with coke, right? Then we see her go ham on the gentleman that broke the window on the Mount Pleasant police squad car. 18 months plus 36 months supervised release once the 18 months is done. Federal, like in charge both state and federal. We see her throwing the full powers of her office at broken glass, at a squad car, right? We see that, right? And then we also see her show up in other spaces. I'm sure y'all can list off all the cases where Scarlett, shout out to Chris Kalin. Chris Kalin underneath my Instagram post yesterday talked about how Scarlett ruins lives. Like, she'll lock somebody up, give them, let me see what Chrissy said, because Chrissy has firsthand knowledge, and I'm not going to bring up her personal story. It's her story to tell. But Chrissy and her family, I keep calling her Chrissy. She don't probably know I call her Chrissy. Chris Kalin, she said this under my Instagram post about Mama Sutherland's appearance yesterday. Scarlett Wilson has ruined so many lives. Life in prison for like $30 of crack. Yet she refuses to convict people that are on camera murdering someone. Boy, that's an evil woman. That's Chris Kalin. That's the Weekend Diva. That's the host of the #1 rated weekend show on Urban Radio here in Charleston, saying that, right? Right? I'm gonna let this play.
Her statement comes after a prominent civil rights attorney, Ben Crump, joined the Sutherland family for a news conference calling for the case to be prosecuted. Raphael James joins me now, and you had the chance to speak exclusively with the family after that press conference. Do you know if they've heard about Solicitor Wilson's newest statement?
I have not yet heard from them about that statement that we've received into the newsroom, but I will be.
To Fernando's point, there's Raphael, like, outside on the scene. I've seen this firsthand myself. I'm glad he brought this up. I never would have thought to bring it up if Fernando didn't, but I've seen him just really be out there covering these stories when he could just be inside behind the desk.
Reaching out to them to see, but they are just as resolved to continue their fight and to try and get justice for Jamal Sutherland, who lost his life here at the Al Cannon Detention Center about a year ago. They invited several other people who feel their pain, literally, who have been through this sort of thing.
So this was the event after,
George Floyd,
I guess,
flew in this afternoon to stand with them as they renewed the rally call for justice. Ahmaud Arbery over in Georgia, his father flew in today because, as Reverend Nelson Rivers puts it, these people have become part of a pantheon of pain. And Attorney Crump says it is a fraternity that no family ever wants to be a part of. Marcus Arbery, whose son was killed in South Georgia, he says it was his duty. He felt he had to come.
Because I feel their pain. Their son got killed about the same way mine got killed. And, you know, it's all our duty to support them. Because people sit back, they think it can't go in your family. You got to realize you got black children. And if you love your black children, it is your business.
And I saw my son die. I witnessed them dragging his dead body. I need to see guilty or not by a jury, not by the solicitor.
There's a concerted effort, I feel, to stop the legislation that the Crump law team is trying to advance through the South Carolina State House. There's also, I feel like there's a strategy. I feel like there's a strategy to contain, right? This is why I think the Post and Courier refused to put this in their print edition today. There's a concerted effort to contain and control Charleston's images, and they do it through media. And I'm being serious right now. This is why I am doing what I'm doing. I'm not doing what I'm doing because Mika likes to be in front of the camera. If you know me personally, you know, as soon as I get off this, I take off the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. I take off everything, and I rather be behind the scenes, no makeup. I rather create content. I rather lift up other people's voices and do the radio show or do the podcast. I always want to have I wanted to have a place in media or read the, you know, but it ain't about me is my point. I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place. It's not about me, but there's a need for somebody to tell the truth, to expose the practices. These are subtle. It's very rarely going to be a bunch of Dylan Roofs. You feel what I'm trying to say? It's never going to be, Dylan Roof number one comes through. Then Dylan Roof, you know, more and more from that pack that you know, Dylan Roof is from a pack of white supremacy wolves. They're going to tell you he's a lone wolf, but no, he's from a pack, right? If you study the insurrection, you hear some of the things that he espoused from his manifesto. Then insurrection, they were echoed in the insurrection. So that to me proves that they all getting radicalized by the same sources. There's a need. Rather, I'll go back to it's not going to be Dylan Roof after Dylan Roof after Dylan Roof wreaking havoc on black people, black communities here. It's not going to be a bunch of Tyler Bessingers, James Tyler Bessingers. It's not going to be a bunch of Corey Allens, right? It's going to be a full court press from institutions like our local media, like our solicitor's office, like people who do the bidding, like lawyers who do the bidding of these corrupt systems, like the Pepper Law Firm, right? It's going to be that. It's going to be way more. And Charleston has, I'm going to go to Jeremy Rutledge's tweet. Charleston has perfected. Ooh, hold up. Charleston has. I
was given an opportunity to talk with those family members, and you can watch that.
Yeah. Pause it. Charleston has perfected the silent thing, the I'm not going to do what I can do thing, right? They've perfected that. We're going to be quiet unless we're pushed to the brink by either outside sources or whatnot. Let me see where I want to get to. Let me not talk because sometimes when I do two things at once, I play myself. So this was shout out to Jeremy Rutledge. Y'all know him if y'all familiar with clergy here in Charleston and pastor to historic church, partner to science teacher, parent to a boy. Okay. So parent, pastor, and partner. That's how he describes himself. I'm trying to let me make it larger. So Jeremy's tweet right here, you know, Kristen Sinema, and again, the parallels between Kristen Sinema and Scarlett Wilson are staggering. It says Kristen Sinema follows a long tradition of white people calling for unity and doing nothing while black people suffer. It's shameful, but not new. It's practically an art from here in Charleston. And when he tweeted this, it resonated on so many levels because of the press conference, right? Because of what I saw, because I already told y'all yesterday, this is front page news. This is a huge story. Let's see how the Post and Courier responds. And they respond with crickets, right? And yet they get scooped by the Columbia-based state newspaper that does have a presence throughout the state. They get scooped by the state. They get scooped by ABC News 2, WSB in Atlanta, right? In Atlanta, Georgia. Right. But that's also, it's not, they don't care about getting scooped because the whole objective is to underreport. The whole objective is to underreport, to omit, so you don't feel as if this is an issue. So you don't feel like, hey, this has happened a couple times. Hey, this pastor I really respect, Reverend Rivers, he's been talking about this for a long time. What's going on? He doesn't want that. So there's a concerted effort to just stifle this news, to to continue to perpetuate an image about Charleston that's just not in line with my reality, not in line with my dad's reality or his lived experience, so on and so forth. But I think I'm in, let me see. I ain't let it play. Did I let it play? No, we didn't let it finish.
Video. It is up on our Live 5 News Facebook page, and where you watch streaming videos, you can find it there as well. Lisa, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Raphael James, reporting for us at the Charleston County Jail. Now, activists from right here in the Low Country also joining those families today, calling for charges to be filed. Our Summer Hector live now. And Summer, what did you hear from people in our community, our area, about today's news conference?
Lisa, people from the Charleston Black Lives Matter group and from the National Action Network in Columbia, they also spoke today at today's news conference, stating Jamal Sutherland. I
want to say this, and I'm gonna leave it here. I don't know who's listening. I don't know who will stumble upon this, because this is part 2 of the live stream got interrupted. I think Facebook kicks you off after you reach a certain hour mark. I think. I'm gonna go back and see. I think Facebook has limitations, but anyway, needless to say, I won't be going back on there. But this is part 2. If anyone stumbles across this is part 2. First part was Husky, was dope, but this part 2. I don't know who's gonna stumble across this, because I got lovable lurkers, and I got some not so lovable lurkers who watch and study my content. I just want to impart this to organizers throughout the state. Your gut is going to tell you don't share with Tamika. Your gut is probably telling you that. I don't like how she talk. I don't like how she requires things of me when she's in community with me. I don't like how she speaks up for herself and says she won't be a secretary for another man, right? Push that bullshit to the side. Shake that shit off. However you feel about me. Because this is work that I had to do for myself. I literally, because my relationship was frayed with the younger organizers, and I don't want that. And I'm like, we need BLM, we need Standards One, we need all of them. We need all of them, right? It needs to be Voltron. I had to do this work, right? Even though there were some mistakes made that was really egregious, and that's where I was moving from where I thought I was. My ego started to really become a problem for me. And I had this, I'm like, Mika, that's ego. That ain't accountability. Why you policing everything they do? Why you got something to say? So I want to say that I'm giving advice or urging you in the way that I had to urge myself. Shake that shit off. However you feel about Tamika Chantel Gadsden, born 1980, 10 Falls, New Jersey. However you feel about me, shake that shit off. Send me a fucking news release. If one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to amplify. If one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use whatever I got. Even though I'm somewhat shy, just send me something. If you're not going to include me in the beginning stages, and if your gut is telling you I'm going to keep this close to the vest because I don't want Tamika to get her hands on it, what I'm going to do with it, with your event? I've never hijacked anyone's event. I've never promoted anyone's work as my own, even though we got a lot of male leaders out here taking women's work and passing it off as their own. A lot. All right? And I ain't talking about nobody that I just mentioned either. So relax. But just go ahead and just if it feels counterintuitive, lean into it. If it feels counterintuitive to share, lean into that. If you feel uncomfortable with sharing, you need to share. If you feel uncomfortable with democratizing certain spaces, go ahead and do it. I wasn't going to pop up at that event. I've learned my places in the media, right? And so I just want to say that. Like if your gut is saying, well, I don't want to talk to Tamika. And this is not a threat. This is just what it is. I've everything that I've really given my all to, it flourishes. It works out. This platform I'm giving my all to is not a day that goes by that I don't try to tweak something behind the scene, that I don't try to improve, try to get more eyes on, try to reach out to more people. This platform is not going away. So continue to sidestep me because the ego gotta chill. Like, just at least send me the press release. Like, come on, we can't become our oppressors. And I'm speaking from that place where I was tripping. There were times where I was tripping. There's times where I wasn't tripping. There's times where I was on point. But needless to say, I started moving from a place of ego and not a place of Black liberation. And I started to do things that mimic oppressive practices. So I just want to say that. I just want to leave it out there. And if y'all know anybody, just like how many leaders, and this is no shade to Tiffany or to Nashonda and Miss Trudy. But beyond the facilitation of the event, beyond logistics, how many Black women leaders do you invite to speak? But like we saw city council, we saw a bevy of POC, BIPOC students commandeer the mic at city council and speak 20 times better than I ever could. Like I'm 20 years older than most of them kids that spoke at city council, and they knocked it out the park. Why couldn't you get one of them speakers? Why couldn't you call the BSU leadership and have them speak on the mic? Let me tell you something. Black women, since way back, been the engine behind civil rights and justice work. And for us to still be moving, how back then, hiding Ella Baker, hiding Fannie Lou, hiding Septima's work, them days is over. Hiding Diane Nash's work, them days is over. Them days is over. We're not taking it no more. We're not taking it no more. We like start promoting Black women who actually are thought leaders and don't just get up there and just perform a statement, but women that actually have a perspective, have something to say. Young women of color, and pay them for their time and their thought leadership. Right? That's all I'm gonna say on that. That was a long little thing, but. Like, come on, for me to have to kind of like find this stuff on, as much as I read, as many papers as I read and whatnot, for me to have to kind of find this stuff haphazardly, that's corny. It's corny. It is what it is.
Did not deserve to die. Now, they asked for change in the state and the city of Charleston's criminal justice system. The president of the National Action Network of Columbia spoke in front of the families of Jamal Sutherland, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Daunte Wright. Tiffany James expressed her condolences to them, asking for help and justice.
I'm glad they got Tiffany's comments. I'm glad they lifted up Tiffany James'
hearing nothing. She says they will continue calling for justice until they get it.
It's been throughout our history because of what they view us as. They kill us because we're seen as diabolic. But we was fed this diabolic lie that our race is inferior. And we are not. That's fine. We are not.
And what I said this during the live stream yesterday, what was missing yesterday too was that local spin, right? So like everyone who got on the mic did an exceptional job, but there was an element of you need the Floyd families and the Arbery families. That's very important, and you need those national stories. You need that support of that national stories, and the support from those families is huge. But you also need someone that's going to land the plane. I think Reverend Rivers did it really well as well. His lived experience telling you how many things he's endured here in the Palmetto State, but also someone to bring it back and talk about the possibilities and talk about the justice. Like there was a need to really make it hyper local that I didn't hear. I heard chanting and I heard a lot of like emotion, but I didn't hear enough pointed like, hey, this is what we could ask for. These are the outcomes we actually could fight for. This is the legislation we're actually going to support. Right. And I also think that I don't know if Nan reached out to local Democratic leadership. They might be done with the Democratic Party, but like I'm done. Like I'm done. You want to flank Graziano, but you're not going to flank, justice organizers. That don't make any sense.
Now, after James spoke, the group of people here at the news conference, that was about 24 people, they joined together releasing balloons for Jamal Sutherland. Now, tomorrow would have been his birthday. Live in downtown Charleston, Summer Hector, Live 5 News.
Okay, so we're going to stop it there. Like I said, I was trying to get to the Graziano piece, but Graziano released a statement as well. That was, let me see if they include hyperlinks. So they got the hyperlinks to that. But there was a news clip that had Graziano in it. And it was just a statement of solidarity. That's it. It wasn't nothing. She could do more too. She could say a lot more. But she got her hands full pardoning other crooked cops and watching me. So I'm sure she was busy watching people. All right. The last thing I want to say is unrelated, but related, because I do have to dip. And I mean at this time. One thing is unrelated, but related. So in terms of press, right? So one thing that was very, very disappointing about this week was the local coverage of what transpired at City Council. You heard Stephen Bowden talk about that. I was so grateful. Shout out to Stephen. super grateful when he called in this morning to talk about what he experienced, or what he firsthand accounts of what he heard from his first night of sitting on council. This is a picture right here of James Tyler Bessinger. Also, we call him here Bear Spray Bessinger because he posted a selfie of himself at the Capitol when he participated in insurrection. He posted a selfie of himself. Looks like he was flushing out his eyes from all the bear spray that he had probably sprayed himself, to be honest, because he's not too sharp there. But he was like, standing with a water bottle, smiling for the camera, participating in insurrection, but able to walk around Charleston very free, very able, to do whatever he wants to do. And the local media just continues to say protesters and activists, James Tyler Bessinger. They don't mention, his white nationalist background. They don't mention how he got sued by Roy Willie, for abusing and exploiting black children to advance his bullshit ass neo-Confederate cause. They don't talk about him, him getting dunked on by Moya, right there, caught in 4K with Live 5 News cameras, right? He's able to reinvent himself over and over again. And what was also discouraging, not just the coverage of James Tyler Bessinger, also, I buried the lead. I'm gonna give myself this. Because also we know that James Tyler Bessinger brought the Proud Boys to Charleston, paraded the Proud Boys around the four corners of law, Customs House, tacked up demands on City Hall, moved freely, very free to move with a known white nationalist group, very free to move, right? Then goes and terrorizes a Somerville-based local business, right? An eatery or a bar, a pub or something like that. The Celtic Knot, I think it was. So James Tyler Bessinger brought the Proud Boys through. They were out there in Somerville throwing up the white power sign and all the other stuff they were doing with Corey, KKK Corey, breaking and entering Corey Allen, right? James was out there doing all of that, right? And yet he's just, local activist. How the fuck is he an activist when he had the Proud Boys here? That's not an activist. They don't even call me that no more. They keep calling me a radio show host. Like how is he an activist? Right? So not only did he did all that, he's able to just assemble outside. And what was so funny about the assemblage outside of City Hall on City Council was that they refused. What happened to the ordinance? I mean, you locked up 3 people from a protest that walked back and forth across the street, adhering to traffic signs. To the walk and the stop and go, red light, green light. You arrested 3 people participating in the Black Lives Matter protest, but you didn't enforce that First Amendment ordinance here, at least not to my knowledge, right? You should send it to the FBI. I'm not going to tell you to do that, but you should. I mean, I wouldn't be above it. I'm not giving you that directive, but they should have been reported him to the. I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm only hoping that the FBI has just building a case like they did it with that Oath Keeper. They finally got the Oath Keeper. I'm only hoping they're building like a really strong case. Maybe that's why he's out here moving out here with impunity, right? But yeah, the police didn't even crack down. So I this morning, I don't know if they postponed it, but this morning, let me download this so y'all can see this. So this morning, Mayor Tecklenburg. And let me tell you something about this, these good morning, these coffee with your rep events. I don't go to them because I'm not trying to. If I was organizing an action, it would be thoughtful, I guess. But I'm not trying to. That's just not the ambush shit is not me. Let me just say that. I might ambush. No, the ambush stuff is not me. It's not my way to do things. I don't think I think outside of optics, so it's very useful in some instances, but in the hands of a white nationalist like JT, James Tyler Bessinger. So he's organizing, he organized folks, or he attempted to. I don't know how successful he was because this post only had like one like on Twitter. But shout out to the follower who sent me this on Twitter. Says so if you weren't able to attend city council due to divisive policies of the mayor, right? Come have your day in person at Mercantile and MASH this Friday. So I just hope in my tweet, so they basically made this flyer and encouraged rabid followers to come to East Bay Street this morning at 7:30. I don't know if they canceled the event. shit, it could have been real rowdy, but I don't even know. But the police, and to my tweet right here was, police didn't enforce their newly highly restrictive protest ordinance on January 11th. Right outside, you see Tyler right here bellowing inside this damn megaphone, right? They didn't enforce it there. I didn't read any stories about how many people were arrested. I got text messages saying that that police had to escort them out the back of the building because it wasn't safe. The word, literally the phrase, "it's not safe for you to leave the front," was sent to me via text. I don't know. Was there an arrest? I don't know if someone read there was arrest or not. Right, Kia, you said what? Bear Spray is basically our local white supremacist terrorist. He is, and he literally has espoused. Whenever you organize with the Proud Boys, what the fuck? What else are you? Whenever you show up to antagonize Adam Dombey at a Charleston County Public Library event about his scholarship in an upcoming book. Whenever you show up just to heckle and antagonize a scholar, you got problems. You got problems, right? So I hope, for the mayor's sake, I hope that everything went smoothly. Hopefully the police was out there. I never tagged the police. I had to tag them there. Hopefully, they stepped up and they intercepted some things. Hopefully. We'll see. So yeah, and I would love to see if the press would cover that shit. Like you so quick to cover whenever you see BLM, because and this is what the Post-Courier is definitely doing. They know that printing stories about BLM is going to get people up in arms, get their largely white physical paper readership is largely white and older. Shit, all legacy media is pretty much skewing older. People are finding their media from different sources. Like, I've literally seen me shift from going to ESPN first and going first to Dan Le Batard or Colin Cowherd or Pat McAfee. Like, media has shifted so much. So whenever the Post and Courier goes ham or is very, very detailed about BLM, they're doing that because they're doing what Facebook did. Let's make them mad. Let's make them angry. Because anger is something they actually can modify in the form of clicks and spicy comments from all those bow tie wearing Orville Redenbachers that step up on the mic to tell black people about racism in Charleston. Tell daughters and sons of Jim Crow refugees and Jim Crow survivors about race. Fuck out of here. Anyway, so we see you posting, Courier. You ain't slick. You'll post BLM, but you won't post anything on Tyler Bessinger. You won't post anything about the Proud Boys. You won't post anything for weeks about Harry Griffin, but you'll post about BLM every damn day. Every day. So we see what you're doing. So the coverage is whack. I want to know if Tyler caused hell and mayhem at Mercantile and MASH on East Bay Street. I want to know. And I want to know if the police was out there. Susanna, real quick. Oh, hey, welcome back, Susanna. Because white supremacy is implicitly accepted by the authorities as part of American life. Come on.
Now listen.
Come on. Right? By the authorities as part of American life. That's why the FBI spies on black activists and don't even bother with blatant white supremacist gatherings at all. Susanna, at all. At all. Like, it's almost like bananas. It's so blatant at this point. Thank you so much for that contribution. I know it was wild. I'm using sound effects from a police procedural, but anyway, it's effective. All right, y'all. I'm gonna end it there. Thank you so much. I said at the beginning, you might have a hiccup because I'm on Facebook, and lo and behold, I will not post to Facebook anymore. Hopefully, I'll get more support with clips, because the goal is to have someone, a dedicated person, put together clips after the live stream. Or even while maybe even like grab some things while I'm on, and to put these clips in different places, to live stream the Instagram. I toyed with that idea. I'm not gonna do it. No longer. I can't do Facebook anymore because we see what happens every time I do it. Not every time, but most times I do it. And so this is just going to be the place. People need to come in anyway and support financially anyway. So that's the whole point of being here. But I'm gonna end it there. I appreciate you. Look. Monday is MLK Day, and that is a day of rest, typically for Mika G. But I'm going to be on, and I'm going to do all of the MLK I can do. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do a lot. Because after these white folks came and fixed their face, fixed their lips, they keep evoking the name of MLK, we're going to turn him in. We're going to take him from being radical, from being Santa Claus, shout out Cornel West. We're going to take him from being the Santa Claus of social justice and make him the radical king that he really is. So typically, MLK Day is a day of rest for me. Oh, no. I'm going to bring that show that I had in mind when I did OM. I did a show dedicated to him. I'm going to bring it to the fore. And we're going to talk about Coretta too. Oh, we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate the King family. We're going to celebrate Bernice, Coretta, and Martin Luther King. We're going to celebrate them three specifically. We're gonna definitely lift them up, and I'm gonna do as much as y'all don't see, I have my little couch behind me. Really, first of all, don't let me buy furniture online again. Every time I buy furniture online, it's way smaller than when I get it. So the couch behind me, I'm gonna scoot that up though. I'm gonna scooch it up. I'm gonna lower the desk, and I'm gonna be here for a minute. And we're gonna talk about MLK on Monday. So if you want to come in and just kind of just engage, it'll be really free flowing, like an open house almost. An open house. An open house of history on Monday. So look forward for that. And I'm really going to start I got to get some things done with get y'all an update on the hoodies that y'all bought. The order has been sent in. I'll give you an update. I'm going to check in with Mackenzie and Elliot, the homies. I'm going to give an update on the book club. The book club is just it's going to have to be very, very just, like I said, low key, Zoom, moderated. I'm going to have some moderators picked out. Kia, if you want to join, please come. It's on the evening. You might be busy, but really want to invite Black women to that space. I don't know how many Black women are going to come, but I'm going to encourage Black women to attend, and we're going to center them as well and have some strong moderation. But it's the reason why I haven't done too much about the book club. My heart is just not into the whole pageantry. We're going to have a substantive conversation about the book, The Trouble with White Women. That's coming out too. I gotta get that. I gotta communicate better, but it's just been a lot. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back after the interruption. Take care of yourself this weekend. Take care of yourself ahead of the storm if you're in the Midlands. Oh my God, take care of yourself. The stores have been crazy with like going out of stock with certain things. Do what you got to do. I worked in retail a long time. So I know how people, go after the whole French toast combo, bread, milk, and eggs. So we know how people get really worked up. But yeah, just take care of one another, share what you can. And I love y'all. I love y'all so much. See you on Monday, MLK Day. Let's go. Bye.